Still higher. Okay. All right. All right, good evening, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. I would like to thank y'all for coming out tonight. I know it's not easy for parents and students to get out on a weeknight. We will try not to keep you here too long, but we really like to do this at the beginning of the year so that we have this opportunity to parents and students on the information about the program, what's expected in the upcoming year, a few tips about how to support more Blue Ridge son or daughter in the program. So we'll get started with that. My name is Mark Fairway. I'm the director of the program, Virtual Government School, and we'll do some other introductions. Before we get into that, I wanted to give you just a little bit of an overview of what specifically we're going to talk about. So we will do introductions of core Blue Ridge staff. Hopefully you know your Blue Ridge teachers at your local schools. A little bit about the overall purpose of the school, because everything that we do kind of fits into that overall purpose. So a lot of what we'll be talking about has to do with that. Big piece of that is our skills curriculum. This is the piece where, you know, when we look at our program and say, what is the purpose of having a program that's kind of over and above what's the local school program? What is it that we can help students, how can we help students prepare for the world after high school? We'll talk a little bit about is our projects, which is a big piece for us in terms of student learning and how you can access information so that you can know what's going on with those projects and you don't just find out at the end what happened. A little bit about our policies. You'll have, if you haven't seen them yet, you'll have handbooks coming out. We're kind of getting them out to the various schools and various grades over these couple of weeks. So you'll be seeing a handbook come home with that. I'll just tell you a little bit about what to look for in there. Our use of technology. Ms. Alton, who's our technology person, will talk a little bit about not only our Blue Ridge accounts, but our Blue Ridge hardware and what kind of support we have for your child and for you. Specifically, I mentioned what's coming up this year. What kind of things can you expect depending on what grade your child is in? What kind of events can you look out for on the calendar? A couple of tips just for, and it's kind of built around college and academic success, but it's really what we work with. And I just had some conversations last night with parents of new ninth graders to the program who are saying, holy cow, this is really different. We're not sure how to approach this level of work, not just the Blue Ridge class, but high school in general, when you're talking about rigorous classes. So one of the things that we try to do is support our students with that, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the tips that, some of the things that you can do as parents as well. Give you some time for some questions, either as a group, if you have questions that would benefit everybody to hear the answer to, or if you have a question that's very specific to you and your child's situation, I'll be sticking around for a little bit afterwards for that. So Before we get into our introductions, just real quick, just straw poll, how many of you are parents of current seniors in Blue Ridge? Current juniors? Okay. And sophomores? Thank you. And ninth graders? Okay, so a little bit of each, but it looks like a little bit more ninth graders. So for those of you who are brand new to the program, welcome to Blue Ridge. So again, I'm Mark Caraway, I'm the director. We have Sally Alton, who is our technology person. Sally's been with us for 8 or 9 years now. We have Mr. Reynolds, Gary Reynolds, who is he's our computer science teacher. He's been doing that for Blue Ridge for about 38 years, I think. Actually, before computers were invented, we started with abacuses. But he did that as a side job while he actually taught math at Louisa County High School. And then last year he came on as a full-time computer instructor and online learning coordinator for us. And he's been a big help as we've expanded stuff. And Ms. Bunovich, Christy Bunovich, is our full-time administrative assistant. We're very excited because we've not had a full-time administrative person. So she's going to be a big help with doing things like publicity with parents and communication and things like that. So we're really excited to have Ms. Bunovich. So again, welcome. So a little bit about Blue Ridge, and you probably know a little bit, hopefully you knew a little bit about this when you applied, but you know, one of the things about our program is that it has grown tremendously. This is my 11th year. When I started, we had about 290 students. This year, we have in the ballpark of 560. So we are almost as large as some of our member high schools. And that has brought a lot of changes to the way that we do business. And it's also brought a lot of advantages to us because with more students comes more opportunities. We've been able to expand our course offerings for students, particularly over the last few years. There's been a lot going on. We'll talk a little bit about that. The thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is that we primarily operate out of state funding. Just about everything that Blue Ridge does, which is in terms of our activities, in terms of technology that we buy and put into classrooms, things like that, is done from state funding. Localities provide teachers and classrooms and transportation support. We do have a few localities who have opted to add additional classes for each year. Ours has been doing it for several years, Goochland for a couple, and Savannah for the first time this year. And actually entire extra sections, but those localities were paying for those. So sometimes parents will ask, well, here Orange has 2 classes, why don't we have 2 classes in this county? And you know, first of all, they're the bigger counties, the ones that have more applicants, and secondly, the counties and their boards have opted to pay for those. So getting into what is this program about? Every one of the schools, I've been working with all of the member school districts for many years, and I know without a doubt there are good courses and good programs at every one of our schools. For us, it's to say, what can we offer high ability students beyond what is offered at the local schools? And how can we do it in a way that's going to be different, and it's going to be challenging, and it's going to be rewarding and preparing for the world after high school? That's a lot of what we focus on. Innovative education. We were the first school in much of this region to use Google Apps for education, for example. When Ms. Allen came in, that's one of the first things that we did. We do a lot of large-scale project-based learning, which a lot of schools are beginning to look at now as a way to build skills. Looking at to see how we can continue to improve that. So that's a big piece of what we do. And with that, what we're really trying to do is to inspire our students for them to find those areas of interest, those things that they're very interested in, and expand on them. One of the things about this is a relatively newly adopted set of purpose and mission. We originally were created primarily as strictly a STEM school, but with 500, and we still have STEM as the center of our STEM as science, technology, engineering, and math. We still have that as kind of a center, but with 560 students, we have a lot of different student interests and a lot of different student abilities. And one of the things we're looking to do is expand to meet a broader range of student interests and abilities. So, as I mentioned, we've expanded our courses over the last few years. We're going to continue to do that so that students have more interest in students who have more interest in other topics will have some opportunities through our program. So that's a little bit about what we're at. The main thing that we do, though, and you know, when I have parents ask me, what's the difference between program and not program? Having worked in high schools as a principal, as a teacher, as a curriculum coordinator, we have a very specific set of skills that we spiral through our curriculum. And these skills are all up here in terms of the stuff that we put into our curriculum. And we hit this at every grade level, and we try to make sure that our graduates, when they get to the end of this experience, and they're doing an independent research and study and internship project, these abilities, that they're able to stand up and present like a TED Talk, for example. They can stand up and present without notes, without having to look at slides, without having to read everything. We want students to be able to do that. We want them to be able to work well together. 2 days ago, we had a group of students that were their research for their senior project. One of our graduates from last year was working at the library. So I always do this. I'm like, okay, what are the things that really made this experience easier? She's only 3 weeks in school at UVA, and she already said collaboration and presentation. She said I've already had to do team-based work, a lot of team-based work, and I've already had to do formal presentations. She said none of my classmates have any experience with that. Okay, we got you. Okay, and those things that I hear consistent. Other things have to do with just managing work, managing the kind of work, the kind of grade. Another student, while we were there, we saw it. I said, "What was the big experience for you?" He said, "I just wasn't prepared for the amount of reading. I'm doing 300 to 500 pages of reading every week, and I have to know it and synthesize it." He said, the closest preparation that he had was some of the things that we did. Which is a deal for those of you who are in 9th grade and parents of 9th graders. I know, but it's good. You will have that experience, and you will be much stronger for it when we get to college level. So these are the things that we work on throughout our curriculum, and that's the real big piece for us. And a lot of people talk to us about how this looks for college applications, and our students do very well for college placements. But ultimately, we want to make sure that they're ready for it when they get there, when they walk in the door. So that's the big kind of core piece for us. What we do for that, as I mentioned, is we do a lot of project-based learning, because a lot of those skills can be built into larger scale projects. So this is one thing for you to know as parents, is that you can see a lot about what our projects are about. If you go to our website, which is this is the URL, brvgs.k12.va.us. Click on that website, and then you click on there's an academics tab, and I'll show you this. So this tab down here says academics. You hit it, it's got a drop down. You can click on current projects. So if you're the parent of a 9th grader, in the next couple of weeks, all of the 9th graders are going to get started on their first big project, which is a virtual museum, essentially a website, but with a museum theme. And what they're going to be doing is all described in this site right here. So as you go into this site, as a parent, you can know what's going to be going on. This is what our students will be using basically as their handbook for this site. It tells them when it's due. You go over here to the left on this, you can see all of the project dates. I had some people last night say, "Oh my goodness, that's a lot of dates and a lot of stuff." But one of the things that we are trying to do is to teach time management skills. So what we do is we take a project, a whole project in a high school setting like this. Here's your project. It's due in 3 weeks. Good luck with it. And then at the end of 3 weeks, you get it. Take that, we break it out. These are very small chunks for the most part. They're things like an outline for your paper. Because you're going to learn how to write well to prepare yourself for stronger courses later in high school and stronger courses in college. You need to figure out how to take that apart. 11:45 to start writing that paper that's due the next day. You've got to be able to take, do your research, do your outlining, do your rough draft, get some feedback, improve that. So what we do is we build all of those pieces in there. You can go into this site and say, okay, what's due? And right now I can tell you, November 2nd, the big paper is due. Actually, we've got the rough draft is due in October. So that means the paper will be largely finished in October. And then the final paper is due in November. So that's a good one to have on the radar, because students will need to have gotten that stuff done. We have a lot of checkpoints, a lot of feedback processes built into these as well, where students sometimes review each other's work and give feedback. We also have teacher feedback as well. So a lot of times, and I heard from a parent last night who said, their student just got take something like a larger project and chunk it out. So again, you can see just about all of the projects that we have if you go into this website. You can also see the student work. So you can go down here and see examples of student work from projects in past years. So if your child is working on a project, you can say, well, here's something that somebody else has done that you can kind of work up to that standard. So it's a little, it's a resource on a couple of levels, and it's something we always encourage parents to check in on the website. Ms. Alton will show you some of the other resources that are there on the website when she's talking. That's one place I would always suggest when your student is going into a project, just taking a look, take a couple of minutes, and then just maybe hit the, what are the big dates, what's going to be going on with that. So these projects, by and large, most of them are an individual research piece where students become expert on a particular topic. Then we usually kick it off with an introduction to the project. So in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have the ninth graders coming in. We've got 2 different meetings for 2 different groups of schools. Start off with meeting their teams. They're going to hear all the parameters of the project and get the timeline. An individual task of research and writing to do over the next month and a half. Then they'll come back together after those papers have been submitted, get back with their team, and then they're going to do their virtual museum, which is build a website basically featuring technologies from different civilizations in which they've been designed. So we're trying to teach again collaboration, and we don't just put them in a group and say, good luck. We work with collaboration, communication. We've got contracts. There's a process where somebody's letting in, somebody's slacking and letting outside. What should the rest of the group do? We try to build those things, those pieces that points throughout. And then the final piece of that project will be due in December. So I mentioned moving on from projects into policies. I mentioned handbooks should be going home. Several of the schools we've been able to get them out to. We're in the process of doing that with 7 schools. It's a lot of driving. So so we're getting those out to you. But parents are requested to read those and sign them and return the signature pages in it. Things that we really ask parents to focus on: honor code. We do a lot with this in a virtual setting. A lot of technologically based research and writing. We really focus on helping students learn how to do that well in an honor code setting. By that I mean, one example, we have our students use a tool called turnitin.com. When they turn in a paper, edited to turnitin.com, which will tell them how much that paper has been, it is original, and it gives them a percentage, essentially, and a high percentage is something like 90%. There's some things in there that maybe just standard phrases that pop up in a lot of places. But it'll give them a percentage how strongly original their paper is. As students, what we do is we have them submit their papers early. They can see that, they can make the adjustments, and then we tell them that then we help them work until their paper is up to an acceptable level. Submit it. What we're trying to do is teach students how not to plagiarize, because consequences for plagiarism in the post-high school world are very serious. So that's a part of what we do through our honor code. Academic standing, we've got guidelines in there for where students have to be with their grades, both in their Blue Ridge classes and their classes outside of Blue Ridge. It's 3.0 for classes outside of Blue Ridge for each marking period, and a C- or better in their Blue Ridge class during each marking period. Also, code of conduct. Some parents and students are surprised when it comes up. Conduct violations at a local school can actually cause issues with students standing in Blue Ridge. So that section of the handbook will help line what there. Essentially, anything that says in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension, kind of hits the go button for us to have to do a review, an academic or administrative review of student status. One of the purposes of this program is to bring students from different schools together as a community, and we do that primarily through field trips. So today we had a trip over for 11th grade computer programming students working together, getting in their teams. We do those kind of trips a lot, work trips, kickoff trips for projects. Those are generally either here, Best Western over Zion Crossroads, out to UVA, got a few other locations. Those trips happen during the course of the day. Students come to school, they get on their local school bus, they go to that place. Usually get there around 9, 9:30. appeal process. And one of the things you hear me talk about when we get into academic tips is promotion of student advocacy. Every year I get several calls over the course of the year, call from a parent for a week. This is the first time my students ever received a C on the paper, and they'll call me about that. I didn't agree with me. It's not really a great place to start. So, it's not to get this off my plate. I'm happy to be involved in the discussion. But one of the things we're trying to promote is student advocacy. I've got some, how that plays out, particularly in the college setting. I'll give you a quick one. So I happen to be a daughter of somebody that actually used to be a lot of there. She's been in a class at her first year of college. Got the syllabus, what chapters to study, what to do. Mom, and figured out this is a great student. So he was at academic success pretty much all her life. She goes to the professor's office out, which a lot of students will not do. A lot of students just don't ever do that. She goes in there and says, I don't understand why I failed this. She looks at her textbook and realizes she has the wrong textbook. It's got the same title of the textbook assigned to their class. She ordered it online. She happened to get the wrong textbook. She studied the wrong textbook. Gives the opportunity to get the right textbook, take a couple of weeks to study, and come back and take that test. Boom, it's all good. That's the kind of place where, that's the kind of point, look at the research on students, college. That's the point where a lot of students will decide, go get that grade back on that first test and go, yeah, this isn't for me, rather than having that conversation. So we try to promote student advocacy. So that's a big part of our grade process as well. A little bit about technology. We have some very specific guidelines about what we expect for students in our technological space and the use of our accounts. And right now, I think that's where we have Ms. Alton, who will come up and talk about that.
Good evening. So each of your students has a Google Apps account. Most of them have one through their homeschool system, but they also have a Blue Ridge one. Ours is a little bit different in that ours is highly monitored, both electronically and by me. I go into all their accounts at any time, and I do random audits where I read all their chat messages and their emails to make sure that they're staying appropriate with their school account. We really try to stress that these accounts are for professional and academic use only. And I try to explain that it's much like a work email account. If you send something inappropriate through your work email, so this is a good way to start learning how to differentiate that your Blue Ridge account is for academic things, professional in nature, using professional language, and having fun is for a personal email account. If you would like to see what is in your student's Google Apps account, you are more than welcome to ask them for their password, and you can go right on in. If they say they aren't allowed to give you their password, just contact me. I'll give you their password. Problems with that. We also do have in our handbook will be an acceptable use policy, and it also spells out our academic and professional guidelines for technology use. In all of our classroom, our teachers have a complete class set of Chromebooks that is paid for by Blue Ridge for your students to use while they're in that class. And we expect that their use with any accounts we give them and with the hardware is the same thing. Will be professional and academic in nature. You know, if myself and all the teachers can see their screens the entire time they're logged into one of our laptops, and it records it. So I can go back and see what a kid was doing on Monday on their computer. So it is something where we're really trying to stress that this is, you know, not the time to catch up on your YouTube video watching, that this is the time to get the work done so you don't have to do it at home. On our website, like Mr. Caraway said, we do have some resources in terms of for technology. Most of them are under the resources tab. The first one is we have a laptop loan program. If you don't have a computer at home, or your computer at home is broken, or like a lot of people, you have siblings that are in middle or high school now and are fighting over your computer, our students can check a laptop out, either for a longer term if they need it. On that page, the students need to fill out the laptop loan request form. It's an electronic form that just lets me know whether they have internet at home and what type of internet, just so I know what kind of computer to get set up for them. A signed laptop loan agreement that they need to print out, and both the student and the parent need to sign it, because I'm not willing to send a laptop home with a student whose parent does not know it's coming. But this is something that we've had a really big response to, especially this year. I think as a lot more siblings get into high school and everyone's fighting over computer use, there just aren't enough. Along with that, if your student tells you that they need like a super fancy, expensive Blue Ridge now, they don't need one. 98% of their work can be done on a Chromebook, and you can get some pretty awesome Chromebooks for $400 and under. So I always tell people, save the money for when you buy their college computer, because they probably will need a more expensive one at that point. Also, under the resources tab is a tech help desk. My job is not just to support the teachers in the classroom, it's also to support the students. So if they're having trouble with building a PowerPoint, something with their hardware, if their home computer is having trouble, they are absolutely welcome to contact me, and I will do my best to help them. I actually spent the computer science field trip cleaning viruses off one of our students' computer because she didn't realize she had gotten them and her laptop was unusable. So I am a resource for the students as well in terms of any type of technology help. If you are considering purchasing a laptop or a desktop, I'm more than happy to give you some feedback on, kind of the specs of it and whether it will be appropriate for what they need. Like Mr. Carey said, I'm a resource for all of you. Please don't hesitate to contact me. If your student is trying to work on a website project or presentation and it's 10 o'clock at night and they're about to pull their hair out, please tell them to email me. I would rather have them email me 60 times in an hour and then 5 minutes later send me an email and be like, oh, I figured it out. I'd much rather have them email me early and often so I can help them. I don't want them to get frustrated, struggling with something like that when it's something simple that I could answer for them.
Projects, that's an area where Ms. Outen helps quite a bit. As if you've got a student who's saying, I just can't get this PowerPoint or this website to do what I want it to do, Outen is the resource. So that's the question. Have you contacted Ms. Outen? That's a big part of what she does. When at project due date time, she's up late often answering those kind of questions. A little bit about what we're going to be doing this year. So if you're a student, parent of a ninth grade student, these are some of the things back in terms of upcoming activities. Some of them I've mentioned. Our kickoff field trips, these are where we start our first project. So the first one is on Monday here at Orange, Green, and Madison. That's what OGM stands for. And it will be here. We've got 180 almost ninth graders divided in schools. So we're able to work with students in kind of a reasonable amount of numbers. So Orange, Green, and Madison will be here on Monday. A week from Monday, Louisiana, Goodsville, Louisiana, Nelson will be there. And again, this is where students can get the guidelines, get a little bit of information, meet your teams, get started on that first semester project. I mentioned you can access that project through our website to find out what it's all about. We will go to Washington, D.C. We've got dates set up for that. October 13th, Orange, Louisiana, and Goodsville will be going. And then on 26th, Nelson, Green, Madison, and Louisiana. Those will likely be cases where you'll be boarding the bus before the school day starts, and we'll be getting back somewhere between 5 and 6. Going to the National Cathedral, National Gallery of Art, and Pentagon City Hall for lunch. So, one thing that we'll be doing is something called CWRA testing. This is something we've started using in the last couple of years to see. We're looking at, we're trying to adjust our curriculum to make sure we're preparing our students as well as possible. It's called college work readiness assessment. And I am not a person who believes in testing students until they drop. But I'm going to tell you, this is the best test I have ever given high school students. It is what's called a performance assessment, where students are given a real world situation, they're given data and some information around the situation, and they have to make recommendations from it. So as an example, the council, and you're looking for ways to decrease crime in a particular neighborhood. So you're given information about how other neighborhoods have dealt with crimes, contributing factors, related factors. You've got to make a recommendation to your city council policies. It's not a huge, big, there's not like 6 pages of writing or anything. It's a very targeted about how students work with data, how they organize their writing, how well they write. And for parents of ninth graders, we will get this information back to you and give you an idea of things to target while your student is in. So we will also do this again with 12th graders. neat assessment, actually. It's actually, a lot of our students find it interesting and challenging in a good way. It really is it's a real world problem solving piece. So that's going to be going on. You'll see get letters about that. I mentioned the research papers being due in November. Field trip, we haven't quite gotten the dates nailed down. We've got to find locations on that. Those usually take place at one of our member schools. Websites for the virtual museum project will be due in December. We still have scheduled exact dates for our spring events, but in January we normally start off with a college lecture, either at UVA or last year we did it at Best Western. And we kicked off our second semester project, which is an ethics debate, ethics and history project. So we will do another DC trip in March in about that ballpark, where we'll go to the War Memorials. And one of the things we will have a final presentation event. This is kind of our students' first public presentation. And we always invite parents to be at those because it's a neat thing for them to see and particularly over the years to see how our students develop in their presentations. Biology. Next place in biology course is the undergrad course. They're going to do something called the Arabidopsis experiment. They will learn how to say Arabidopsis very well. And Arabidopsis is a plant that we get from Virginia Tech as part of an ongoing experiment they do. They give us wild type plants and genetically mutated plants. We experiment on those. Through the experiment, they share data and they present it back to the scientists from Tech. So it's a real world science experiment. They've been keeping track of this data for many years and using it to assess what genes this plant is. We will have environmental field trips. Some of these will be testing bait foundations. Some of them will be wildlife experiences. Each school gets to kind of choose their own. We'll work with the teachers to schedule those throughout the year. And it kind of depends on where you are in terms of scheduling at schools. We haven't really gotten most of those nailed down as far as dates here. We'll keep posted on or some of the projects as yet to be determined. We will be presenting the Arabidopsis results in November. Again, parents are very much invited to be part of that as well. Funding our features is the second semester project where students actually do a grant writing simulation. So they're wanting how to assess a lot of information about a topic in bioethics and then writing grant area. And then the big governor for the senators is the advanced placement test. We'll be hearing lots about this as we get close. One of the things we're hoping to do is sponsor some weekend or after school sessions for this test. A lot of our teachers do that already. We're hoping to have a kind of a larger effort across the entire Blue Ridge program. So start going about the middle of April, you can start hearing about preparation for beginning of April, probably about preparation for this test. It's a critical piece for our students. At this point, we're talking a little bit about the 11th grade course. We're going to have Mr. Reynolds do that because he is the keeper of the 11th grade anyway. So, Mr. Reynolds. Yeah, really. We're very technological.
So online courses can be very stressful, so that's why I use my Pokemon tool. Well, really plan. So because they're so stressful, I try to make it as stress-free as possible, and that's why I'm here. This is what I do. I've been doing it for quite a long time. So I want to make sure that students, when they get into an online class and there's no teacher looking over their shoulder, that they know that I am there. I try to visit them in their schools, at least so that they know there's a real human being behind the name Reynolds. They get emails and things from me. So we try to make sure that they are comfortable in that new environment. A lot of times when you take an online class, some of you guys may have, well, as adults, you're just thrown into it. You just hope for the best and roll with it. So we want our students to try to be more comfortable with it. My online classes, one is to learn how to learn online. That covers all the classes. And the other one is to learn the actual material that you're working. Those two goals hopefully will help them be a little more comfortable so when they get to college, they're most likely to have those online classes. Might not even have any choice about it. That they can walk in and go, yeah, I'm an expert at this. I got this. I've already taken it. Hopefully that'll work. As far as 11th grade, 9th and 10th grade were very easy. You got your 9th grade world history, you got AP Bio. Then you get to 11th grade, your students are getting older, they're starting to make their own decisions, figure out what they want to do for their life. And so in the 11th grade, in that spirit, we want to try to give them more opportunities. So we offer them, they're all online choices, but they can make some choices as far as what class they can take during their junior year. I teach one directly. We just call it the Blue Ridge Computer Science class. This one. But we also have, these are fairly new, we have an AP Computer Science that runs year long. I put my name on that also because even though we use a company that teaches the material themselves, not completely direct, but I'm working kind of as a coach for them. So they still have me working with them. We also add more material to that course that's Blue Ridge specific because we do want them to accomplish certain things as far as group work and online communication and that sort of thing. So we add a few things to the course. That's year long. And then a brand new AP course in the nation, that's principles. And so the students can take that as well. I'm also the coach for that. We use another company, or we use the same company for that. And they also can take a course through UVA called engineering. We work with them for that and dual enrollment statistics. Richard Manna. The engineering course is going on right now in the fall semester. This is during the spring semester. My classes that I run, the 2 AP courses are year long, and the one that I teach directly, the student has the flexibility because if you're in a semester school semester that they are able to take, like Orange and Madison, do theirs in the spring. The other schools might do in fall or year long or whatever. So we adjust to that. So that's kind of a good flexibility. So that's the 11th grade. They get to pick one of those classes. But also 11th and 12th grade, they can choose one of these online electives, which are all the same classes that I just put up on that last slide. So if they took computer science, took it from me, and they really like it, and they want to take another level of computer science and get an AP credit, and they can take the next one during their junior or senior year. They can also take the engineering or statistics. They couldn't fit it into their schedule in their junior year. They can take it through the senior year. And we also offer a couple classes that are not, they can't replace the requirement, but they are electives for them. For Radford, cybersecurity, which is a huge topic these days. You probably see it in the news every day. And we also teach digital technology for you kids. Lots of opportunities, and we're always looking for more opportunities to give the kids that ready to take some online courses that interest themselves. Does that make sense? Very good.
One of the things that we're trying to do is expand our opportunities, particularly for our junior and senior students, and for those of you that maybe have had older students that have, this has been greatly expanded just in the last couple of years, actually. And we've been able to bring these in. A big part of that's bringing Mr. Reynolds on as online coordinator because we're able to kind of juggle more courses and all the logistics that go with that. So we're continuing to work with UVA, working with James Madison and Radford to try and formulate some courses. Just as one example, one course we're talking about with James Madison would be a course where it would be a science course that would be taught through in conjunction with novels. So it's called Chemistry in the Novel. We're really interested in doing that as an online course. So we're looking at possibilities of getting the students when they hit that level have lots of different options. We've had a number of students who've taken several of these courses in the program. So 12th grade, aside from the electives, the 12th grade, their required course is their internship, research, and community service project, which is a totally independent study piece. Michael Wire here spent time with the NASCAR pit crew this year, and as part of an interest in mechanical engineering, we've got students that are doing medicine, we've got students that are doing arts projects, doing body piercing, we've got somebody doing, every topic you could possibly think of, where they spend time with somebody who's expert in that area, where they do some really good targeted research and writing in that area, and then they take that knowledge and turn it into some form of community service. A lot of our students say this is an experience that truly helped prepare them for the much more kind of open and student-centered world of college. college. Yeah. So this is something that 12th graders have just kind of started on. If you've got a 12th grader and they're freaking out, we're still in the early stages of working with them. One thing for parents to know is that 12th graders, and Michael did this, where they're able to actually do some of their internship or all of it in the summertime prior to their senior year. A piece of what's required for that, but if you get that piece out of the way, that actually frees you up quite a bit at a time where students are writing college applications and have lots of other demanding courses. So if things don't happen, our students all present their projects locally in the spring. Individually, this is a picture from last year over in Orange. Maddie Johnson Orange is presenting her project. It's done kind of like a TED Talk format. Then students will come together and also do something called the Senior Expo, which looks a little bit more like a science fair. Everybody has a display. We have evaluators walking through and having conversations with students. It's a neat event. You get to see what everybody's done. The students get to see one school to another. So those, we've not set the dates yet for those. And I mentioned students, the senior students will also be doing assessment, which will give them some information in their senior year about how their preparation for college and maybe some areas that they can target as they finish out their high school. So a couple of more pieces here. Something that I'm not sure that parents know, but Blue Ridge actually has a policy in place to pay for students who are taking in 9th through 11th grades. And there's been a little confusion on this because this is an old policy. And in practice, it's largely been applied to mostly 9th and 10th graders. I'm going to clarify because this came up actually today. We went back and checked the policy. It does include the 11th graders as well. So what we found is our students do very well on SATs. I think a large part of that is, of course, the rigorous education they get. But we also, by the time they hit the SATs, they've done quite a bit of practice for students that are interested in taking them all 3 years. And also it has set a number of our students up to get into the National Merit Scholarship program. I mentioned the college work readiness assessment. One thing that also comes up, and we've had a lot of students take advantage of this, is that has a particular interest, an interest in an area that you think fits in with the mission of what we're trying to accomplish. And that's pretty broad based. And will sponsor summer opportunities for those students. So one example, we put a number of students over through a program at Montpelier for archaeology. They're doing real hands-on archaeology. College grad through James Madison University. We've had students, I know we had a William Monroe student a few years ago attend the forensics camp. She was interested in forensics as a career. We've had done leadership. We've had Johns Hopkins accelerated math programs, all kinds of stuff like that. So that's an area that if your child is interested in something specific in terms of extending their learning, contact me. If we've got money at the end of the year, and we usually do, trying to spend it all, we would be happy to help out with those experiences. Sometimes we can pay a partial tuition. Kind of depends on how many students we have interested in how many different things. But that's something that I think is good for parents to know. I mentioned it with the electives is that we will sponsor students to take individualized courses. For example, we had a student last year that tapped out of every math that was potentially available at their localities. We were able to pay for linear algebra, which is a post-calculus math, for that students take in their school. So those are things, again, if you've got things like that on the radar, you can always contact us. One of the things that I don't know that parents know is that we apply for college. Anytime you apply for college, you get your school profile, which tells about what courses your school offers, how well your students have achieved. When a Blue Ridge student applies for college, they get their local school profile and they get our profile, which talks about last year's graduates, where they attended college, which last year we had a pretty strong graduation class. So, in terms of college placement, it talks about average SAT scores. It talks about the courses that we offer and what our students go through in the program, so that admissions officers know that our students have done something above and beyond the local requirements. So that's just something for parents to be aware of. Next year, we're looking at long-term curriculum revision. This would be primarily for students entering in the future. But again, we also are looking to add courses for students now in the expansion of online and in-school classes. We want to add some more actual teacher-based classes as well. One thing that's going to be different this year, we're going to be able to issue a program of studies prior to scheduling. A lot of times our course descriptions go into the local program of studies. They don't really know what our courses are about. So we're going to issue our own program of studies to parents and students so that you can know everything about what is the UVA engineering course, what are the different courses that are available, say, to Rising Junior. representatives of Richmond. Now, I'll mention this in a different context. We're looking to get more parent involvement in the Blue Ridge over the course of this next year. So that's something that, as we get details, we'll make available to parents and those that are interested in participating can come with us. We use a charter bus, take parents and students down to meet with legislators just to inform them about the governor's school and what we do. Very successful with that this year. Governor schools across the state of Virginia received a sizable increase for the first time in many years in our funding, which is a great thing. We have an evaluation this year. This happens every 6 years, where the Department of Education is going to come in and evaluate our program and make suggestions for future improvements. We always need some parents to be involved with that process as well, because they like to hear from parents about their experience as parents and as their child's experience in the program. So we'll be in contact about that as well. And I mentioned one thing for us. We want to increase overall parent involvement. One of the things for us that's difficult, for y'all, is we're over 7 counties, over a huge area. We figured out if we were a state, we'd be the 49th biggest state. So, one of the things we want to do is leverage the tools that we have, our online tools, things like that, to invite and include, involve more parents. And part of that, having Ms. Bunovich on full time, is going to make that a little bit more. So we really appreciate your support. I'm going to spend a few minutes just talking about skills for success, because one thing that happens, and particularly parents of 9th graders are coming in, this is a whole new experience, can help them in terms of study skills, in terms of potential academic success in high school and beyond. And we're very fortunate that our students do very well in that respect. So the very first thing, and this is a big research base, there's based a lot on the research of Dr. Carol Dweck from Stanford. And that is, students who have the right kinds of goals do much better in school. The first is performance goals. We hear this one a lot. I walk around 7 high schools all the time. I hear teachers say, you need to know this because it's on the SOLs, it's on the test. And students want to do well. There's no problem with that kind of goal. A performance goal is wanting to get an A, wanting to get a particular score, wanting to do well, wanting to get all the items right. But the kind of goal that is the most effective in learning is something that's called a learning goal. And that is, what are you going to do with this knowledge? So when your student is in a class and you're thinking about the frustrations that are involved in terms of steel or other aspects of things that we do, having that conversation about why is this learning taking place, and what ultimately can and will you do with that learning? And it may not just be the content, it may be the learning, the skills that are associated with that learning itself. The skill of learning is an important skill, and the skill of learning how to read a difficult text and get information out of that. Important skill. So talking about those kind of learning goals is very important, I think, for parents. So some academic tips, and I'm going to just kind of flow through these, but I can't say it clearly enough to start out with. Does not exist. It is not a real thing. It is impossible to effectively multitask and learn at the same time. Let me put it that way. It's possible to multitask. A lot of us do lots of things at the same time. It is impossible to multitask and learn because your brain goes boom, 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 boom. There are studies that show that your IQ lowers by as much as 30 points when you have a phone and a chat window open on a computer. You may not want to hear this, but I'm going to tell your parents straight up. If you're studying, have the phone somewhere else. Have it down, have it away. That's it. Really, you're going to be much more effective. Because we are all highly addicted to our phones. It is possibly the most addictive thing that's been invented, and this is by research in all of human history. How do we deal with that? Well, we deal with that by chunking out the study into smaller bits. Don't do an hour and a half because you're going to be crazy. That hour and a half, you got to have the phone here. This is what my friends are up to. I don't know what's going on. That's tough for any of us. I don't know how many parents can do that. I don't know if I can do that. So what I would say, and there's a lot of research that supports this, chunk it up. Use a timer. There's a great technique called the Pomodoro technique, which is tomato in Italian. I don't know why it's called that, but the technique basically says, set a timer, 20 minutes, you're on. You get it done. 20 minutes, after 20 minutes, you get 20 minutes of phone time, 20 minutes of computer time, then you come back for 10 minutes. So however you want to set it up, your time increments. This is a good one, because attention span for most people is like their 80 plus 10. So 20 to 25 minutes for a high school student is good. And then a few minutes off where you can engage with your social media or whatever, but then with the timer, back on it. That kind of happens, you will be so much more successful in rigorous classes at high school and beyond. Another piece is rather than cramming, rather than waiting the night before a test to study, a lot of research supports a small amount every day for reading. Now, when you are reading for a lot of students look like, I looked at the pages, I saw that there were words, I looked at the next page. You have to interact with the material, and usually that means there has to be a product. What I like to tell students to do, and what I always tell students in class, and there's a lot of research that supports this, give me the 5 most important things, or 3 most important things off every page that you read. What did you think was most important? Or better yet, this is even better for test preparation. Tell me 3 questions you expect to be asked from that reading. Those, you've got your own study guide. When it's time for testing, you've got the study guide. Put the answers down. Another piece, use calendars. Get in the habit of using calendars. Every one of our students has a Google Calendar at their disposal. That's what I use. I have 8 million things. I'm in 7 different school districts. We're doing parent nights. We're doing meetings during the day. We've got meetings with curriculum people. It all comes to me on my phone. I know exactly where I'm supposed to be because my phone tells me, because it would fall out of my head. It's just too much stuff. Getting in that habit is really good. So for parents, again, helping set learning goals. One of the things I tell parents, I had a conversation with a parent the other day who said, I'm not sure what's up here. He tells me he does his homework every night. In the words of Ronald Reagan, trust but verify. There's lots of tools available to you. You got Power School. Ms. Alton talked to you about it. The tools that are available through us. Did you mention the Go Guardian?
No,
the Guardian piece?
Google Classroom, which a lot of our teachers use, now has a feature called Guardian Notice. Your student's teacher, they can set you up in their Google Classroom to get a weekly summary of your student's work, like what assignments they have completed, which ones they have outstanding, what's coming up due for them. So if it's something you'd like to keep track of, you can just notify your student's teacher for Blue Ridge, and they can add you to that. Probably much to the chagrin of all your students.
Sorry, students. We watch you because we care. Seriously. I mean, we're here to try to help you be successful. So a couple of things about preparing for college, specifically about college, because I think most everybody here is thinking about that in the long run. First of all, thinking about what is college going to be for. And I'm going to tell you, in this day and time, it's not enough for college to be an experience in and of itself. It's just not enough. I mean, I just was reading an article today about how, 2 things that actually I heard one on the way over here on the radio. One is that they're piloting a program now to deliver Chipotle through drones at Virginia Tech. Pizzas in college. That was a critical part of my college experience in terms of getting my walking around money. I'm thinking, okay, who's going to be delivering the pizzas now? It's going to be a drone. There are so many opportunities. So many of our students do so well, but the ones that I have seen consistently do the best are ones that had ideas about what they wanted to do with that college experience. And I'll tell you, it often changes. That's fine. But going in with a plan, going in with an idea, is way better than going in with no idea at all. There's a lot of research for that as well. Persistence and self-control. This is one I cannot stress enough. And it goes back to the phone thing. It is very different, or very difficult in this day and age for somebody who's been raised with this technology all their life, and other things, all of the other things that go on in a student's life, to be able to say, okay, I'm going to set aside and prioritize some things that aren't quite as much fun to do. But what studies have shown? Studies have shown that if the student can resist a donut at 5 years old, they're about the rest of their life in terms of academic success and work success. It's entirely predictable. You put a kid in a room with a donut, and you walk out of the room and you watch them through a 2-way mirror or a 1-way mirror, and you say, don't touch that donut, and the kid who doesn't touch it in a minute, and it won't over the course of their entire life. The good news about that is the skills of persistence. The kid who eats the donut can actually be taught how to resist it, and can be taught strategies to resist it, and they will do equally as well over the course of lifetime. So anything you can do to help with those habits is fantastic. Skills and habits, things like how do you study? Where do you keep your stuff? The average 9th grade boy's book bag looks like the landfill. I'm just, and mine did in high school. People learn those things. And part of that is, it's actually a mental development thing. There's a reason we don't give kids, in experiences, a lot of times people talk about the things that go on a college application. They look good for a reason because they have something behind them. When a college sees service, any kind of service, mission trips or church service, they see participation in sports, they see participation in band. They know that that represents the ability for a student to accomplish things beyond just getting a good grade on the test. And those experiences really help to formulate that potential for success in college. So anywhere possible, he can get those experiences. Fantastic. One of the big things I talk to parents about is the choice of college. When I have a big college talk that I do sometimes at some of our localities, I'll put up a list of colleges, and there's 25 colleges. It includes like Harvard, it includes MIT and Stanford, but also includes like Slippery Rock and Grove City College, a place like that. They think that list of college represents, it's the list of colleges where the last 25 U.S. Nobel laureates came from. You don't have to go to Harvard to win the Nobel Prize, is the point of that. It's not where you go, it's what you get out of it. We are very happy when our students get into their choice of college. Our biggest piece, I'll kind of come back to what we started about is, are they ready for it when they get there? And that's what we're going to try to help students to do throughout the course of the time that they're in the program. So that's a real quick bunch of stuff, but if you're interested in exploring this presentation is now posted on our website, so you can go to this presentation directly. All of these up here are live links to articles that research says. I'm not just making that up. I've actually read all of this because that's like a real interest area for me for how to better build this program for our students. So if you're interested in finding about, say, the multitasking or college success or emotional IQ, which is a big get, you can go to those resources and find it. And if you have questions about anything, if you'd like to know more about some of this, please feel free to contact me on that. So, final thing, before I open up the questions here. As I mentioned, we are looking for parents who might be interested in participating with, I mentioned the Capital Day, that's done through something called Friends of Virginia Governor School. A statewide organization is asking governor schools to provide representatives to that organization, people who might be interested in working with advocating for governor schools in the state. If you think you might be interested in doing that, or if you think you might be interested in participating when we have the state organization come into this area to evaluate us in the spring, or if you have a suggestion that you think we need to hear anonymously, there's a form that's linked. It's also linked in the on our website now. There's an article on our website has a link to this form that you can fill out. You don't have to, if you want to just provide a suggestion, that's all you got to do. You don't have to volunteer for it. If you want to volunteer for one thing and don't have any suggestions or don't want to volunteer for the other, that's all you have to do. If you're interested, we would love to have some parent participation. So that's kind of a goal, I think, for us for this year is to get more involvement from our parents to help improve the program as much as possible. So at this point, I'm going to open it up for any questions that you think might be good for everybody, that you think other people might be interested in, or if you want to ask me a question directly, you can stick around. I'll be around for the next few minutes to answer those as well. Anybody? Yes.
No.
Well, that's a great question. We go ahead.
We provide all the laptops in the classroom, and when we have working field trips and stuff, we rolling carts of laptops that come with me. So they do not have to have one. If they're working on one of those projects and it would be helpful for them, they are absolutely welcome just to borrow one of ours.
Right. And, yeah, we work with our teachers to try to make as much, to make time available. If you've got a project, have some flexible time in class where you can either work on, say, textbook-based project or your computer-based project, and some people will choose to do the computer stuff in class and the textbook-based stuff at home. So we try to make it because our students have a wide variety of access to both computers and internet. We live in seven rural areas, so we know internet stuff. Other questions? Yes.
Is there a recommended protocol if you're having classes with non-governor school classes? Like if they schedule a test on a field trip day?
Communication. The recommended protocol for anything like that is communication. One of the things we understand that our students have a lot of different things they're involved in. try to work as much as possible to, there are not too many collisions with other things, but obviously we don't know. I mean, we do most of the scheduling, say with field trip centrally. We don't know who's giving a calculus test in Nelson or who's giving a Spanish test in Green. So just communication with the teacher. If you know there's some issues with that, and if the teacher's not sure about what best to do, then by all means contact me.
Before contact, is it governor's school before the building principal, or?
I would say if it's a governor's school field trip, contact us. Yeah, we'll work with you on that.
And definitely contact the teachers, both sides.
Teachers are good, the best place.
The governor's school students having to go on field trips and stuff, so they're very used to, half their class being gone one day, and they're used to adjusting to that.
I communicate out to the buildings, our teachers communicate out to their buildings when students. Other questions? Well, thank you all for coming. I hope you all have a great year, a great semester. Again, I'll be around for the next few minutes if anybody has an individual question. And thanks again, and we look